Good morning and welcome to Interfaith Community Sanctuary. Happy New Year. I'm proud to be a member of this community, and I'm somewhat of a self-appointed historian for this group and for our greater Seattle city. And I brought this oil lamp down with me to greet everyone because I'd like to say a little bit about why we do that as a practice every Sunday. I'd like to take you, I'd like to do the visual like Doc from Back to the Future, but I'd like to take you back to the 2000 year, which was a long, long time ago of relative terms, and it was a time of great anxiety as we approached that term. 2000, for a lot of people, was a new beginning. It was a time when the millennium changed from the 1900s to 2000. We'd never done that before. Most people alive hadn't been through that. There were older folks who did it. But one thing that had never done that before was our computers. So there was a lot of anxiety about how a computer wouldn't understand that 00 was actually a date. And part of that, and part of the greater anxiety that folks have around the change of the millennium, be it the Apocrypha, be it the Revelations, many different reasons, spiritual leaders from 7 different continents decided to focus their energies on peace and good fellowship. And they created a flame in each of their nations and joined it together and spread it around the world. And we were one of the lucky recipients of this flame, which we put into this oil lamp here. It was blessed by many spiritual leaders. The Pope at the time, I believe that might have been John Paul, Bishop Desmond Tutu, the Dalai Lama, and other spiritual great individuals. And we were lucky enough to be the recipient, one of the recipients of this flame. And then we light from this flame all the different flames that represent many different traditions there. And then I also opened up our little mini library on the altar, which holds many books of wisdom and is to help us to have the knowledge permeate and circulate among our community as we're doing our rituals here. I then also lit the candle in front of the Divine Feminine. We've been acknowledging the Divine Feminine for several decades, and I'm proud to do that also. I thank you for being here today. Welcome, Happy New Year, and let's continue on. I don't know who's next.
Once again, good morning, and once again, Happy New Year, and also, for those of you who know, Happy 12th night. Many people think that Christmas is one day, December 25th. It's not. That's why there's that song, The 12 Days of Christmas. The 25th of December is just the first day of Christmas. Tonight, we celebrate what in legend is the time that the 3 kings made it to the stable to visit the Christ child. And that ends the Christmas season, and then we go into Epiphany. So that's your conversion lesson for the day, for those of you who are going to line up to become Christians. But I have been tasked today with the honor of welcoming the ancestors. And I want to say a little bit about that. Chris, and I'm going to re-refer to it, open that cabinet with those books in there from various different spiritual traditions. And those books are kind of like the written records of some of our ancestors. When we talk about ancestors, particularly here, we don't just talk about people related to us by blood. We also talk about those who have influenced us. We all stand on the shoulders of others. Now, in Sufism, we have this thing called a silsila. And what that is the various different Sufi traditions have a whole list of names, generally going back to Prophet Muhammad, but what they are is a list of all of the teachers up to the present day for that Sufi tradition. I would argue that we all have our own personal silsila written in our hearts. The people who have influenced us and brought us to where we are today. Some of them lived hundreds of years ago. Some of them lived thousands of years ago. Some of them are your spiritual ancestors and you don't even know their names, but they're there. So this is a time at Interfaith where we honor all these ancestors and we invite them to join us. Now, this is going to be kind of interesting. In Islam, if any of you have ever seen Muslim prayer, seen Salat, you'll notice at the end, everybody will turn to their right and say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, peace be upon you and the mercy of God. And then to their left and repeat it. A common mistake is that they're saying it to whoever's sitting next to them. That's not who they're saying it to. The Prophet Muhammad told us that when we gather for prayer, the angels gather between us. That's who you're saying it to. Those are also in many ways our ancestors. So I want to take this time to welcome our ancestors, those known and unknown, those giants whose shoulders we stood upon, and who brought us to where we are today.
Reading is fundamental, and I should have read the program, in that I was to do the land acknowledgement next. So fortunately, in our typical order service, we do the candle lighting, the welcome the ancestors, and then land acknowledgement. So hi again, good to see you all. Yes, honored to follow you or precede you anytime, Richard. Appreciate that. I would like to acknowledge that the land that this community sits upon is ceded land. It wasn't ours to begin with. It is land that was cared for, nurtured for millennia, many, many generations, and is still cared for and nurtured for by people of the Coast Salish tribe. Coast Salish people are actually many different communities. Locally in Seattle, the Duwamish were very prominent, and the person who the city is named after, Chief Seattle or Sealth, was also a Duwamish native, welcomed the settlers and with open arms and much wisdom, and for reasons I don't understand, his people, the Duwamish, have not actually been recognized by the U.S. government. Other peoples that are in the Coast Salish tribe, the Muckleshoots, I'm not going to name all of them. I'd be here a long time. But there are many, many tribes and many peoples that have held this land sacred. We honor their continued efforts, and we honor that they hold this land in trust for us and for future generations. If you'd like to learn more about the Duwamish people and the struggles of Native peoples in this area, they have a website, realrentduwamish.org. There is also a lovely place that is along Harbor Island on Marginal Way of the Longhouse. I'd seriously recommend visiting there. They do wonderful community events, and they have lots of great history that we can learn about. And I thank you, and I thank the people, the Native people who've held this land sacred, the Duwamish and the Coast Salish tribes. Blessed be.
Good morning. So like those before me, I've been asked to do a little, why do we do this? talk. And my subject is the divine feminine. And I'm going to just pull this front and center. So hold on. Okay, our little altar here for the divine feminine. We light the candle every Sunday for her. And my understanding, I met with, oh, you know what? I'm supposed to say my name. My name is Joey. I met with Atara because she was apparently one of the very first in a group of women who brought this tradition to Interfaith Community Sanctuary. My understanding is between 2005 and 2010, a group of women joined together and they would give divine feminine services. And they did that over time and it was welcomed. And then there was expansion in ICS and there were other offerings that were rising up and wanting to be expressed. And so what they decided is that they would bring this ceremony to every Sunday service. And so that's how we started with this tradition in honoring the divine feminine. We also usually say a prayer or give an offering. And so I've been working on this for a little while. You may, hopefully it shows, but it may not. I don't know. Here we go. Divinely feminine, Mother Earth, born of sacred stardust, matured by refiner's fire. Captivated, she spins faithfully around Father Son in an ancient dance through the cosmos. Their holy embrace renders every earthly being ever known. Humbly, she holds the secret of how it all began. The first insemination, the first birth, the first breath. Through the eons, her mystical collaboration with water, fire, air, and ether lovingly brings forth, feeds, and shelters every walking, flying, swimming, creeping, slithering, and unfurling green child. From first to last breath, she earnestly, compassionately, and most ardently holds one and all. Witness to innumerable souls living out innumerable destinies. In this time, in this beginning of New Year, O Divine Mother, feminine Mother Earth, we ask, please guide and protect us once again as we spin around Father Son and through the Milky Way with you. May we always remember our divinely feminine Mother Earth and live according to our divine inheritance.
Good morning, all. Kathy and Max Lewis here, and we have the delight to share with you our lovely mission statement. We are a truly interfaith community dedicated to healing and education. We desire our worship celebrations and the life of the community to reflect our interfaith openness. Through our welcoming spirit and mutual respect, We are a center for healing. We are creating a home of love and truth as a center of light for all seekers of divine wisdom. We encourage personal growth in unconditional spiritual love. We believe interfaith includes the following. We consider all faith and spiritual traditions as paths toward one God. We believe each expression of God valuable. We honor all expressions of God. We welcome individuals from all faith and spiritual traditions. We consider each person's path valid for him or her. We honor the personal path of each sincere, open, honest seeker. We offer the following affirmations. We seek the truth and speak our truth without fear. We are open to hearing and learning from each other. We reflect on our interfaith vision and nurture it in our hearts. We pray for the realization of our interfaith vision.
Good morning. I have the pleasure to share, I'm Vicki Capistani, first of all, and I have the pleasure to share some writings having to do with the vision of Interfaith Community Sanctuary. And they were written by two people who have passed on, but who were very beloved and important to this community, Reverend Karen Lindquist, and I'm sorry because I don't remember the name, and David Heitmiller, who was a former associate minister here. So the first one is written by Reverend Lindquist. As a community, we endeavor to live in the openness of heart and compassionate understanding that embraces all life. As a spiritual organization, we are collectively organized to thrive through listening, sharing, and caring for one another. As individuals in awe of the divine, we support and respect one another's personal, spiritual path and spiritual practices. And now from Mr. Heitmiller, who said that our congregants come from many walks of life and represent a diversity of spiritual beliefs and practices. And he wrote this poem. It's called The Sanctuary. Come to the sanctuary, come one and come all, faithful practitioners of any and all religions, or none at all. Come to the sanctuary, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, Sikh, or Jew. We welcome you. Our door is open. Come to the sanctuary, humanist, atheist, truth seeker, witch, pagan, First Peoples. We honor your spiritual path. We listen to your journey. Our door is open to you too. Come to the sanctuary, Catholic or Protestant, Orthodox or Reformed, Shia or Sunni, Tibetan or Zen, agnostic or unknown. Our door is open. This could be your home.
Thank you, Steve. That was beautiful. Steve Crawford, resident expressionistic pianist for ICS. Thank you so much. Right, I'm surprised you didn't acknowledge her at the beginning, as you often do. And we love your mother. We may not have met her, but she's one of our ancestors, as Rich was saying. My name is Sally Jo. Welcome once again. I love the way we have been able to together create this service today, and I'm so grateful to each and every one of you for showing up, for coming here on Sunday morning. You are Interfaith Community Sanctuary. All of us are this community. And we, I think you've heard how we try to express inclusiveness, generosity of spirit, openness, and I think that these offerings at the beginning of our service that actually happen pretty much every Sunday, and that many, many people contribute to in different ways, in many different ways every Sunday, we consider this to be the bedrock of our community. We are one. We are all part of the same Mother Earth. And thank you, Joey, for that beautiful poem, that beautiful reading that you wrote. That was, I don't have a word for it. Thank you. And it was very apropos, very perfect for our service today. Everybody has done such a wonderful job, and where there's more to come. So today, my piece of the puzzle is to do some looking back on this past year, 2024, some events and accomplishments and things that have happened. Now, you know, like everybody else, you could spend all day on any one of these topics, but I'm going to brush through it pretty quickly and remind those of us who've been around all this time what was going on. And for those of you who have not been there for the whole time, you get a better picture of what you've stepped into in these wonderful days and weeks. Now, in our regular Sunday morning worship services here at ICS, and in a wide variety of classes, gatherings, study groups, chanting and prayer groups, and workshops, we gather together in person throughout each week. We're in person, and we're often online, either on Zoom or live streamed, to explore our spiritual pathways and adventures. Most of our work this year centered around our annual discernment for 2024, which was based on a book. Oh, I had that book earlier, but now I don't know where it is. The book by Ed Bastian called Interspiritual Meditation. And this was a book that we were using as a basis for our spiritual discernment for 2024, Making a Home for the Mystic Heart. And if you've been to any service throughout the year, you've probably heard that mentioned, and we've been deepening our understanding of that concept of making a home for the mystic heart. At this time, I'm going to highlight a variety of special events that punctuated our year and brought us together in community to honor and celebrate our spiritual lives. These were, of course, in addition to the regular classes and workshops and study groups that are held every week that you hear about during the weekly services. We began 2024 on January 1st with the Creating Sacred Intentions service, which featured Imam Jamal Rahman, our co-minister, and Pastor Dave Brown, a Christian pastor from Tacoma. On February 4th, the community was shaken by the passing of Reverend Karen Lindquist, our co-founder and co-minister, Reverend Karen Lindquist, which occurred early in the morning of the first Sunday of February. Chris Rapshavitz led our congregation that day for that first Sunday service. And I remember it well, and I thank you, Chris, for being there for us that day. That was a difficult day. Sorry. Isla Ross, a couple weeks later, who's here with us today, offered a special Mother Tara sacred evening of chanting and prayer to honor Reverend Karen in her passing. Isla has continued to offer those wonderful music and chant evenings just about every month for this year, and we're very appreciative of the work that you do and the atmosphere you create here with us. A universal worship funeral led by Michael Douglas and the Mevlevi Order of America was held here in the sanctuary for Karen on March 15th. And an interfaith memorial service was held with family, friends, and congregants, and many, many, many people who had known Reverend Karen over many, many years of her involvement with this community. And they all arrived and paid their, deepest respects and wonderful memories of Reverend Karen. I want to also note that we're planning a consecration of our new Rose Garden site to be established on the west side of ICS to honor the one-year anniversary of Reverend Karen's passing. That will be held on Sunday, February 2nd, which is almost the one-year anniversary, and that'll be at 1 p.m. after the Guiding Council meeting, that first Sunday of February of this year. Moving ahead through the year and throughout the year, on April 5th of 2024, Bahia Ann Holmes Redding, who's leader of the Friday Prayer Circle in the Islamic tradition, along with Imam Jamal Rahman, led us in a Night of Destiny service and an iftar dinner to celebrate Ramadan in 2024. Throughout the year, there were 3 times when we gathered in a program called Dinner with Others. This occurred in 3 different months throughout the year, starting, I think, in February. And this was led by some of our ICS members and John Hale of Northwest Interfaith and a member of St. Joseph's Parish. And we organized together these dinners where you sit in table and eat a meal and have a structured discussion with people about conversations that go deep in the heart and getting to know each other on a personal level. And our volunteers from Interfaith Community Sanctuary, our volunteers and participants in our what we call table hosts, were absolutely key and essential in making those events work and happen, and we're very grateful. And by the way, those will be continuing into 2025. We plan to have at least 3 more dinners throughout this coming year. And we usually hold them in different houses of worship in different places throughout the city so as to involve more and more people. Throughout the spring, Joey Klein led several work parties focused on working on the east side of the building, working on the memorial garden, and erecting the beautiful lotus statue that had been sitting in our property, but nobody really knew the history of it, how it arrived there, what it meant, and Joey did a lot of research for us, and we erected it so that it could be seen and admired and enjoyed by others, and many participants have helped in all of those parties. They also worked on building a new woodshed out here in the west side of the building, repairing the original shed floor, working on the irrigation system, and all that other hard work that helps make our outdoor of our sanctuary so beautiful. So if you haven't walked around our building, when it's not raining and rain isn't pouring out of the pipes, do that. It's a wonderful, we have a little bench over here in a garden you can sit in. We have people from the neighborhood who come and sit and meditate there, and we welcome everybody. On May 25th of this year, we welcomed Sister Lucy Kurian of Maher, which means Mother's Home, and she shared her work with impoverished women, men, and orphan children in India. It was a program called Empowering Communities, A Journey of Hope and Transformation. And Sister Lucy has come to our sanctuary frequently. She participates in our programs, and we always enjoy her programs. And she's the one who sends us our Peace Camp counselors in the summer, some of our Peace Camp counselors from her very organization, Maher. I'll get to that in a minute. On June 23rd, we participated in the 22nd Annual Multi-Faith Summit with Northwest Interfaith and Nirankari Mission and other groups, and that took place, again, in another congregation in St. Joseph's. The highlight of the summer months was the 11th Annual Peace Camp International, where for 3 weeks, ICS becomes a center of light and youthful energy for children ages 4 through 15, guided by young counselors from several different countries. I mentioned India, Mangesh and Sony are 2 of our counselors, a young man, a young woman, who come from Maher, Sister Lucy's orphanage. They grew up there, and they're now young adults, and they're leaders in our peace camp. And from Uganda, we have Bernard and his brother, Father Centurio Olaboro, who are also very dear members of our community from afar. And in Uganda, Gretchen, who's the leader of all of this, our special Peace Camp director from year one. She has made many trips to Uganda to visit, and Michael was with her, and her son, well, Bryce, you're going next, but your brother Emerson went with your mother as well. And we have people who have gone to Uganda, and they have established an annual peace camp in Uganda as well. So Peace Camp, as I mentioned, is directed by Gretchen Rowe. And she is assisted by many, many Peace Camp moms, we call them, and youth counselors, and kids who have started out as little kids in Peace Camp who are now teenagers and high school students, and they all want to come back and help lead. And they have a talent show every Friday during those three weeks of the summer, so all are welcome. In November, we participated in the 38th Annual Interfaith Thanksgiving celebration with Northwest Interfaith and other congregations in the region, giving thanks and going deeper with our commitment for peace and justice in the world. And finally, on December 7th, we held our holiday concert and bazaar right here at ICS. We raised spirits and also raised funds to close out our year with good energy and holiday cheer. These are some of the many activities and community gatherings that punctuated our year. We certainly do hope you are able to appreciate, enjoy, and participate in, and many of you helped create and organize many of those events, and we thank you for that. So that was looking back. Now it's time to look forward. And I'm going to call up Imam Jamal Rahman, co-founder, co-minister of this beautiful Interfaith Community Sanctuary, to give us his thoughts about the vision for 2025 and beyond.
Thank you so much, Sister Sally Jo. You know, before we came here, we used to be in this house worship, meaning we used to have all these programs, services, classes in different people's homes. It was called Circle of Love, which started in 1992. And we had a threefold focus. One was how to become a better human being. The second one was how can we create authentic, genuine, loving community. And the third one was how can we really fulfill our life mission by being of service to God's creation. I remember in one of those house gatherings, I was saying there's a verse in the Quran that says, in all these different spiritual practices, aspirations, just go deeper, allow it to evolve. And somebody in the group began to sing. Gate, gate, para samgate bodhisvaha. So I said, what does that exactly mean? I knew it was Buddhist. And this Buddhist practitioner said, this is also the message of the Buddha. Keep moving, keep going deeper. Don't stay in the comfort of what you have achieved. That is what life is all about. Gate, gate, keep moving, go beyond the beyond. Bodhisvaha, oh, you awakened, enlightened one. So I would say my personal goal for our community is may we continue to evolve, just deepen continuously. And once we do that, we'll find that amazingly, Spirit will help us. We did that with honesty, with dedication, with sincerity. And guess what? I sincerely believe that Spirit led us to this place. And amazing things have happened. So we continue to evolve. And I'm looking at the time. Sister Sally Jo has said that don't go beyond 6 minutes. This is not a sermon, so I'll be quick. I want to tell you that the form changed when we came to this place. Some of you might remember there used to be a huge cross right here. And this place had a name, New Age Christian Church. We named it Interfaith Community Church. We insisted, let the word church be there and let the cross remain. Over the objections of many people, by the way. Change is difficult. We said, no, this is a Christian country, and we want to model the fact that this is a church building, yet it can also practice interfaith. 2001 happened, 9/11, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and the circumstances changed, and we took the cross down. And we renamed this building Interfaith Community Sanctuary. And also metaphorically amazing, we used to have all these years pews right here, and we removed those, not because for any particular reason, but we wanted to be more spacious, more flexible. And we replaced them with these chairs. So everything evolved. You know, interfaith, the word interfaith before 2001 was not very well known. So we were in a way ahead of our time. The history of interfaith is like this. Diversity, interfaith, let's acknowledge it. Then as the years and decades went by, well, let us tolerate it and accept it. More decades went by, let us honor it. More time went by, let us celebrate diversity. Like Thich Nhat Hanh says, that wonderful Buddhist master, fruit salad can be delicious. Okay, so very quickly, what are some of those, I'm looking at the time, the most important evolution we've had in our community since 1996, 97 till now? I'll quickly mention governance. We struggled a lot. How do we govern this place? We have ministers, we have a board, but you know, we want to make it non-hierarchical. Most of you will not know, my beloved late Karen Lindquist colleague, she and Deborah Lajmadir, we had very spare resources. They sent me for 1 week to Chiang Mai in Thailand because there was an international conference on cooperation circles and how to overcome polarization through dialogue. When I came back, immediately, just not too long after that, again they managed some money and sent me to Salt Lake City. For what reason? Because there's a big conference by the founders who coined this term, appreciative inquiry. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Anyhow, so when we came back, we discussed this with Karen, with Deborah, and with other members of our congregation, and that is what has brought about the changes which you see in what we today call guiding counsel. It went through a lot of iterations, changes, disputes, how to manage this. So we have now a guiding counsel that has evolved through many different names. Sacred this, Wisdom Council, and now it's Guiding Council. The other thing I want to tell you about where we have to focus on something which needs evolving, and whenever I go to international conferences, one of the main questions they ask is, yes, we've heard about you, and by the way, we have gotten incredible, astounding media attention. New York Times, Christian Science Monitor, CBS Evening News, CNN, PBS has been here twice, National Public Broadcasting Corporation. In fact, I'm asked all the time, how did you do that? What do you have a publicist? How do you do it? I have no idea. It's just by grace of God. But I'm asked continuously, we've heard of this Interfaith Amigos, and they call this place Interfaith Center, but how do you do your services? People of different religions, how do you do that? And I want to tell you, this also has been decades-long evolution that we have come to. But we need to continue deepening that because circumstances are changing. Churches are closing down. Houses of worship are closing down. It needs more interaction. So I want you to know again, please memorize this because you'll be asked again and again if you advocate interfaith. How do you do services? Well, how have we done it? I think Karen has really pushed this in really evolving into a template where the first Sunday, if you remember, we have an outside speaker. We want to learn from others. Second Sunday, we want to make it universal worship. And by the way, that also has evolved. When I and Karen attended some Universal Worship on YouTube and some other ones we went to, it was long and lengthy. But that has been, what shall I say, creatively changed. And Michael Douglas has been very, very important in making that happen. Third Sunday, I speak, and particularly about Islam, because there's a lot of Islamophobia, misunderstanding, even among Muslims, about Islam and Eastern traditions. Fourth Sunday, Karen would take care of that, but the goal was to involve congregants. Karen Lindquist, before she passed away, she asked George, who was the president of our board, member of our congregation, to lead the services. She wanted members of the congregation to be involved. Fourth Sunday, but now my colleague, Sally Joe, will be doing the fourth Sunday in 2025, always with a congregant or congregants. And fifth Sunday also we've decided that we both will do the service, but always involve congregants. Okay, I'm beyond my time, but I do want to say there'll be a lot of focus this year on getting to know the other through those programs you mentioned, Sally Joe. Brunch with others, dinner with others, in different places. So we are teaming up with St. Joseph's, with Unity of Linwood. They are very interested. Unity of Seattle, Center for Spiritual Living in Green Lake, and Nirankari Mission. We are getting together and really saying the key is for people to get together over dinner and connect on a heart-to-heart level to overcome polarization. So we're doing a lot of focus on that. And one last thing I want to say is, you know what has brought me a lot of, I don't want to say attention, but someone told me many years ago, Jamal, don't make this a private club. You're doing something very beautiful. Don't feel it is narcissistic, but let people know what you're doing. What are your ideas about, for example, how do you do Sunday services? This governance that I've talked about. What are your ideas about compassion, about different spiritual practices? Then so many people have attended conferences when I tell them about, for example, what Judy with her late husband has done in Ethiopia. I talk about it and I always remember I want to do a video with Judy, not for purposes of how great we are, but to provide inspiration. A retired couple goes there and they come back and they establish this project which has helped thousands of people. Gretchen, Peace Camp. It has really acquired an international flavor, again, impacting thousands of people in Uganda, India, and here. Then Suraya Athar Medical Clinic. This community has helped thousands of people in my ancestral village in Bangladesh. So I am very keen on creating small, short videos. You know, I have received so much benefit from those videos. I get calls from New Zealand, Australia, India, only because of those short little videos that I have created. So I'm going to call on some of you to create those short videos. And now I shall definitely stop my sermon here. And thank you very much. And here comes that other person who has created Peace Camp. Here she is.
Okay, I'm Janine Keefe, and I'm going to talk about the practice of gratitude. And it's customary here to do gratitude during our services, our monthly council, and of course today at our annual meeting. Expressing gratitude is mentioned in all the scriptures. It's intuitive. But not only is it historical and intuitive, but scientifically proven to have significant physical and mental benefits in addition to spiritual benefits. So I'm going to express some of my thoughts on gratitude, and then we'd love to hear from the other members of our congregation. So there's a book called Eat, Pray, Love that was popular a while back. And one of the only things I remember from it is sort of this summary of spirituality, which is, wow, thanks, help. And I feel like that sums it up, in so many words. So let me find where I am. So I'm grateful for discovering this unique place. It felt like it was chance, but it has sort of evolved to feel like it was meant to be. And I felt like I could fit in regardless of my spotty, wonky, wayward, off the beaten path journey. And I feel accepted and I feel welcome. It's like Cheers. Most people know my name, which is the only place in my life where that happens. Now that I'm retired, they knew me at work. So every week, many people have noticed that I take copious notes in a journal. And I reread them, and I can open to any page from any Sunday and continue to learn so much, which brings me back to my values, my goals, and helps me continue to define what my path is. No matter what state of, it motivates me, and no matter what state of mind I come here with, or what Sunday, I feel welcome. I soften. My heart opens. I remember what I'm about. I'm grateful for life, for the miracle, for the mystery, and for this community and the support, for this lovely building. When I just walk in and look, and I'm so grateful for the colors. I don't know who helped pick them. I don't like blue very much, but green and silver, you know, you can just feel the peace that it's imbued with from all of us over the years. So I feel loved here. And now I'm going to open it up to others if people would like to say, probably kind of briefly. Are you going to? I'm not keeping track. So come on, somebody, so I don't have to stand here. To talk a little bit about gratitude.
Express your gratitude for anything in your life. It doesn't
have to be
about the sanctuary. But
right.
Any gratitude you would like to express would be welcome.
I just want to express gratitude for gratitude and the importance of it. And we were talking about the Native Americans, the Iroquois tribes informed the early founding fathers about how to run a democracy. And part of that was to have gratitude at the beginning of every gathering, gratitude first, as a way to bring your minds together. And the founding father says, oh yeah, we like all this stuff. And the Native Americans warned, he said, if you skip that, something evil is going to come sit at your table and you're going to have a hard time getting it out. So gratitude is not extra. It's needed. It's a bringing minds together, and gratitude is presence. So thank you for gratitude.
Thank you, Nora Grace.
Thank you, Nora Grace. Good morning. My name is Lee. Yeah, gratitude is a sort of a way of being. It's a sort of an attitude to have. I'm involved with 12-step work with Alcoholics Anonymous and recovery and a lot of things like that. And we have this wonderful expression that I just love. I made it kind of part of my philosophy in life. And it's having an attitude of gratitude. And I like that because that's kind of meaningful and we can all relate to that. Because it has a little bit of 10% humility into it. And that's really good. We need to be a little bit humble in our lives. And in AA, we learn that kind of thing, as we learn a kind of a 12-step program for how to live life that makes sense to us. And we all need a moral code and ethics to live life by. It sort of makes life a lot easier. And with AA, there's a lot that program has a lot to help people with. It has a way of just giving a new attitude, a new philosophy, a new way of being And it's really about an attitude of gratitude. Thank you all.
Alyssa, please.
Hi, I'm Alessi. Nice to meet you all. This is a kind of unintuitive perspective on gratitude, but as some of you know, I've struggled with some severe mental illness in my life, and in a lot of mental health treatment, we talk about self-gratitude. I'm grateful to myself for, especially in depression treatment. And I really enjoy that as kind of a way to acknowledge the work you have put in, even for things that feel basic, especially if you struggle with your health. You know, I'm grateful for myself for going outside, or I'm grateful for myself for taking spiritual time. So maybe not a traditional form of gratitude, but I just wanted to share that.
My gratitude starts with being thankful for my life. That's an everyday mantra for me. It's basically how I wake up. Oh, I'm alive. And with that comes opportunity. Without life, there's no opportunity. And we get to do what we want. But not only are we given life, we get to decide what we're going to do with it. There's no greater gift, as far as I can even imagine. So, and part of the energy that I choose to share is with here. I come here. So this is a wonderful place to use some of your life energy for the betterment of the world.
I'd like to express gratitude for this place. When I was a kid, I got very interested in religion, theology, philosophy when I was about 14. There's a funny story about my mother going into a bookstore around Christmas and saying, "Do you have any books on existentialism for a 14-year-old?" Yes. But growing up, when it came to stuff like that, I was a population of one. I mean, there really wasn't anyone else around who was like-minded, you know, at that, you know, as far as concepts like interfaith, the different world religions and so forth, comparative theology. So when I moved to Seattle and discovered Interfaith, at the time it was called Interfaith Community Church, it was like water in the desert. Suddenly there were people I could talk to, you know, about, you know, my feelings, my emotions about this, you know, how I wanted to approach this. And I didn't have to, like, you know, explain things. They understood because they came from that same place. So I'm grateful for this place. You know, it's easy sometimes to take it for granted, but you go to other parts of the country and you discover that there isn't something like this. And people who are like-minded about it are often on their own. So I'm grateful for here. And I'll add, I'm grateful for live streaming because we can actually reach out to those people now.
Kathy and I first encountered Jamal in 2001 and have loved every encounter with the experience of him. And we, like many people, I think we started coming here because of that. But rather than an intellectual approach, we realized, we said to each other one time, driving away, we feel good here. We really feel good here. And I'm so grateful for that. And grateful for how warm and loving Sally Jo is and how warm you are to all of us, or all of us. So thank you.
It's interesting that you mentioned existentialism. there was an existential philosophy professor that was really inspiring to me in my undergraduate days. And the thing that I remember the most is he introduced me to, there's a French philosopher, Gabriel Marcel, who wrote The Miracle of Being. And one of the chapters is titled, Why is there something rather than nothing? And it's it's like just the fact of existence. I mean, there's no logical reason why anything has to exist at all. And what is our experience? It's like the life, universe is just so amazing. And we have the great blessing of being in the middle of it, being a part of it. And so that's what I'm grateful for.
Thank you. Okay, one more, and then I think we have to wrap this up, or we'll just go on right through lunch.
Thank you. My name is Richard. I'll keep this short. Okay, there's a science to gratitude, and the person's name is Roger Schwelt, S-E-H-U-E-U-L-T. He's professor of medicine, UC Riverside, and he presented on this YouTube presentation scientific evidence studies that if you write a letter to yourself or to someone who's passed away and expressing gratitude for the positive things in your life or the things that you've recovered from in your life, and it seems to overcome the difficulties that you have and put you on the path to good health. And there's several studies, and it was scientifically charted. And if you want to get the website from me, I have it on my smartphone. But it's an actual science that surprised me. And I thought, well, I have a lot of dead friends, so I mean, I'm 75 years old, so I can write a letter to anybody, virtually. But I thought maybe a good person to write to, like say the great Buddha from the Sea of Galilee that you Christians worship, and or Muhammad, or my prophet Baha'u'llah, write a letter to him for the gratitude of guiding us to this place, to each other. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we can express more gratitude all the time. There's no cost of expressing gratitude. And I was going to say my father, who was a rocket scientist and who was also an atheist, self-proclaimed atheist. And I remember the time that Reverend Karen came to me and said, Sally Joe, we would like your father to offer a service at ICS. I said, excuse me? And she said, well, we want to do a service about water. And I know your father knows a lot about water. My father said the water was the universal, it's not an element, it's a compound, H2O. The most important compound on our earth is water. And she wanted me to have my father give a talk about water. He was floored when he learned that we were inviting him to this place to give a talk about water. And a couple of you probably remember it. And my father, he was the kind of scientist who was in awe of the universe. And so I always told him he actually was not well, I didn't tell him that because he's my father. But in my mind, I was saying, Dad, you're not really an atheist because you have awe of the universe. And the way you talk about space is the same words I use about God. And he used to say, when I'd ask him a question he couldn't answer, which was quite rare, but we'd go on our long walks and I'd ask him a question about the universe, the creation, the stars, blah, blah, blah. He'd say, well, that's a question you'll have to ask Jamal's God when you meet him. He always called him Jamal's God. I said, Jamal's God? And one day I said to him, Dad, you're going to meet Jamal's God probably before I do. he was in his 90s at the time. He's now passed on. He lived to be 94. I said, "You're going to meet Jamal's God before I do, so you be sure and ask him that question." Anyway, we're all grateful for each other and for this community, and I'd like to have you all sing a song. We haven't sung a song together in a while, have we? Okay, so some of you know this song. It's called "This Is My Land." What is it called? "This Is My Song," and it's on the back of your program, the words. And I'm going to play it through once while you get the tune in your head, and then we'll sing. There are 2 verses. We'll sing it together, and I thought this would be an appropriate song of peace and gratitude. I'll play it through once, and then we'll start it. Now we are coming to the place where we have some reflections from George Ramirez, our guiding council president, and then kind of the culmination of all of this will be, I think you'll be happy and surprised to learn about our discernment for the year 2025, which Michael Douglas is going to share with us after George gives us a few comments from the president. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sally Jo. So, comments from the president. Kind of like that. Sorry? Well, and I thank you all for allowing me to be there. But one of the things I think I wanted to talk about today, especially from the perspective of the Guiding Council, and that is volunteerism. Volunteerism, as I see it, is the cornerstone of our interfaith community. Because when serving in any capacity, it allows us to contribute to the future and the direction of this organization, and for its accountability and for its longevity and sustainability. And so many people over the years that I've been doing this now for 2 years, and for the 2 years I've been so impressed with the amount of people who have volunteered to do so many different things, from arranging the chairs in the sanctuary to accepting a position as a minister in our organization here. And so, I want to thank you all for your volunteer work. We have people from all sorts of backgrounds with all sorts of skills and knowledge and experience and passion that they've been willing to share with us. And I think it's really made us who we are. And I just hope that we continue to do that, because it's in that giving, it's in that sharing ourselves with others that we grow spiritually, and that our organization, our community grows as well. And I first came here, I forget when I first came here, it was 5-6 years ago now. And actually I was introduced to it by Brother Lee over there, who he and I were talking. At that time I was teaching with someone a meditation class, and Lee was a part of that. And so I came and checked out Interfaith Community Sanctuary. So he's the reason I came here. And Michael was the reason that I stayed, because on one of my first visits, I remember sitting and listening and being impressed, but starting to walk out, and Michael stopped me. And I'll be honest with you, as impressive as he is, I forgot the words he said. But I just remember being touched that somebody would just reach out. And I've always tried whenever, and I've been remiss on many occasions, but I always try when somebody new comes in here to try to go to them, say hello, introduce them, because it meant so much to me. One of the things I wanted to do in talking about sharing, because we kind of missed it when I have it here, because we just, somehow or other we missed it is a list of our guest speakers for this year. And I just want to give a little shout out to all of them. And I made a list last night, and I think I got it complete. If I left anybody out in advance, I apologize, and somebody can correct me. But in February, Brother Chris, our good friend Chris Savage, was our guest speaker. In March, Trudy James was here. And if I get these names mispronounced, I apologize. In April, but I want them to be remembered, because it really was important to us. As Jamal pointed out, it's a significant part of our offering here. In April was Avalon Gallion. In May was Andrea Turner. In June, Wahid Galian. July, Kieran Frank. In August, we had Father Centerio Alaboro, who came all the way over from Africa. In September, we had Ruth Ann Leonardelli. In October, succinctly, Laura Boucher was our guest speaker. November, it was Judith Laxer. And in December, we had Maggie McClellan on the first Sunday, and we were blessed for two, because on the last Sunday of December, we had Bahia and Holmes Redding. So I wanted to thank them all. And so I implore you, I invite you, but implore you, to consider the skills you have, the experiences you've been through, and share them with us. You have a lot of these offerings that we have during the week, and we can always use more. I mean, I've taken advantage of several of them, and I know many of you here as well. And also, right after this meeting, we're going to have our guiding council meeting, and this guiding council meeting is different. It's the first one of the year, and we're going to be electing officers for 2025. And I encourage you to reflect upon yourself and see if, in fact, you would want to be considered for one of those positions. We have both, we have president, we have secretary, we have treasurer positions that are open to all. Treasurer position has a little more qualification than the president, obviously. But anyway, so I encourage you all and to be of service and kind of steal one of Brother Jamal's favorite quotations. You know, what was that from? Who was it that wrote that? Tagore, I think. I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I woke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy. And I'll leave you with that. Michael.
I'm going to sit down so I could waffle with Yes. Okay. So we have, how long have we been doing a discernment for the year? Like over 10 years, you know, and we had a few before that, but I think it some years they didn't quite take. But we've been committing to it for 10 or 12 years, and it's one of my favorite things that we do because it gives us a communal focus. And not just a focus, but but it's like working on a project together. You know, it's we're just like considering it in an open space in community, and things we would never imagine develop and come out of that. So our discernment for this year is about creating sanctuary. And let me get the full name. An invitation to create sanctuary in community. So we're talking about creating sanctuary, and we call this place a sanctuary. It's a building, it's a community, but it's something more than that, really. It's a sort of ineffable entity that we co-create. It's, I don't really even know what to call it, but it has its own presence and its own will, in a way, that we are all a part of, but none of us is actually necessary for, which is always a good thing to remember. So we've, you know, the worship coordination committee kind of put our heads and hearts together, and we came up with a whole bunch of different lenses for looking at the idea of sanctuary. Sanctuary as a place for transformation, sanctuary as a place to meet the divine, sanctuary as a place of healing, sanctuary as a place for engaged listening, sanctuary as a refuge, sanctuary from the world. Sometimes we just need to shut everything out and come somewhere we feel safe. So there's a lot of different, I'm not going to read them all, but they'll be online and we'll be experiencing them. But the point is not that we are, that we know what sanctuary is and we're going to go through it with you. The point is to create a number of opportunities for us to decide what's real. for us and in this place, and how we can make this a more effective light in the world. A sanctuary is a place that is set aside with some kind of intention, to make something, to set aside something that is holy or, sanctus, or just worth preserving, like I think of a wildlife sanctuary, right? There's an inside and there's an outside and there's a border. We create a zone of safety and nourishment and trust. And we do that partly by actually trying to actualize those things in our lives and with each other. And we also do it by not letting things that do not bring those energies in. We like to focus, for good reason, on welcoming more than what we don't welcome. But it's good to remember, there's things that we do not create a welcoming space for. We do not create a welcoming space for intolerance, or narrow-mindedness. And that's how we create a safe space, a safe and an inclusive space. So, and the border between those things is something I'd really like us to become very conscious of, because that border is not, contemporary reference, like a wall. That border is a living thing, and it's always changing. And if it's, it's like a border in nature is always a lively place, like an estuary between freshwater and seawater, all kinds of life there. The border between the mountains and the valleys, there's extra activity at borders. And, in a sense, our Sunday service, which is so foundational to what we do, is a kind of border. It's the essential thing that we do, and it's also the most public thing we do. So I just want to, when we talk about a sanctuary is a place that is set apart with intention. And the border there, which we want to be very open, we want to be welcoming, we want to learn better how to accept things that might be strange to us and see the connection, see the unity. So we don't know where we're going with this, in a sense. It's a conversation, and as with all of our discernments, it's a personal and a community inquiry. There's a kind of opening questioning that we really try to foment by all the different presentations that will happen. They're all just expressing different facets of a jewel. One more thing. There's a sense where I want to relate this to our last discernment, the making a home for the mystic heart, because there might be a sense that, we were working on the internal stuff last year, and this year we're working on the external stuff. We're working on our internal practice, and then we're working on, okay, how do we create sanctuary? I'd like to suggest that there's really not a difference here, and that creating a home for the mystic heart is a foundational step for creating a sanctuary. Because if we are not coming from a place of inner awareness, whatever that means for each one of us, bringing our best to this, creating our most open, vulnerable heart and sharing that with others, then I know this, we cannot create sanctuary. And we can create a community of sanctuary to the extent that we as individuals are doing that work and keeping our connection to the Creator, to intuition, to revelation, however we conceive of it. It's really all the same thing. It's reality. It's going in your heart to a place of creation, reality, revelation, and figuring out with everyone else how to make that blossom. Okay, so that's this year. Thank you.
Beautiful. And there will be, I did make some copies of the discernment that will be available downstairs at the Gathering Council meeting if anyone wants to look at them. Thank you, Michael. That was a beautiful introduction and summary. We're going to take a few minutes for announcements. Jamal mentioned the SAMC Medical Clinic in Bangladesh, and it jogged my memory that coming up very soon on February 1st, which is a Saturday, coming up the very 1st of February, we're having a beautiful dinner to honor and raise funds for that clinic. Once a year, we have a dinner, and Jamal and his family goes way deep into their resources to provide this dinner. It will be held at Unity of Linwood, which is a larger space for us, and they have a great, wonderful, beautiful place for us to gather for dinner and hear from the founding members of our community who started the clinic and who are still working on it. Jamal's sister Isu, her children, and many people in their family who are working over there, and they will bring us back reports on how the clinic is going. It's been open now for 10 years. It opened in January of 2014. And so now we're going into our 11th year, and many, many new developments. All are welcome. It starts at 6 o'clock, right, Jamal? And goes from 6 to 8-ish. We have entertainment. We have gourmet East Indian food and catered, and lots and lots of great presentations by people who have been working on the clinic all year and in past years and would love to share their accomplishments. So that will be February 1st. Also, I have one other announcement, and then others, I'll open it up for others. Jamal has a new spiritual development class starting next Saturday, January 11th, on Saturday mornings from 10 to noon for 6 weeks. If you'd like a flyer about that, they're up here on the in the front on the altar, and also ask Jamal or myself if you'd like to register for that. And I know that we have our weekly classes are kind of all back up and running again. There was about a week off where some of the classes did not meet, but we have all of our the Course in Miracles is meeting. In fact, our first our guest presenter for February, the first week in February, will be Chris Holland, one of the leaders of the Course in Miracles, and he's going to bring some of his people and talk to us about what that group does once a week, part of the time on Zoom and part of the time in person here. And then also we have many, many other groups. Our Thursday Sitting in Silence, our meditation. We have some monthly meetings, like the Open Women's Sasiwa Circle becomes an Open Medicine Circle once a month, and they also meet every week. So join us for our regular gatherings. They're all available on our website. And Chiaki sends out an announcement every Monday with the upcoming gatherings. You can sign up yourself for that on our website and have it sent directly to your email. And does anybody else have any special announcement? Yeah.
Just a reminder, it's monthly, but this Saturday we have our Meister Eckhart Reading Circle. Chris and Rich and Chris and I and others meet here, and what we do is we read from that lovely spiritual companion of mine, Meister Eckhart, 13th century theologian, mystic, teacher, preacher. And we read his works basically to reflect upon it and how it impacts and how we can use it for our spiritual development today. So invite you all. We meet here in person downstairs usually at 3 p.m. on Saturday, and it's also available on Zoom. And I've sent out an announcement, but if you didn't get it, I have that information as well. Rich?
I wanted to add two things. One, Jamal's class is going to be beginning next Saturday, and it lasts till noon. Ours begins at 3. This is a wonderful chance for you to make a day of it. Come to Jamal's class, go out for lunch, be back here at 3.
Jamal's class is on Zoom, though, so they'll be home if we're there for Jamal's class.
Fix yourself lunch, then come on over. I won't miss a beat. The other thing I want to say, and I had discussed this before with the ministers and other people who are on the worship circle with me. I'm going to be developing a reading circle, a class, and what it's going to be, and hopefully I'll have things up and running by February, but I'll let you know. There's a lot of changes in our world today. There's a lot of polarity. And what I want to explore through the writings of different activists in different religions, how we as people of faith respond to injustice in the world, how we respond to polarity in the world. I'll be choosing authors like Gandhi, Thich Nhat Hanh, Abraham Joshua Heschel, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, Dorothea Day, Farida Shad, and Amina Wadud, and others too. But I should be able to get it up and running, by February, and then we'll make an announcement. But I would love to see you all there. What I'll do is, much like with Meister Eckhart, I will basically Xerox off what the reading is for that month, and put it out on the web for people so they have a chance to read it. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you. Also, I want to mention after this service today, there's lunch downstairs. We have a lot of food, right, Susan? She's already down there setting it up. We have a lot of food. Everybody's welcome. You didn't have to bring anything. My wonderful volunteers brought all the food. Stay with us, have some lunch, join our council meeting, our guiding council meeting, the first meeting of the year, and it's always on. It's held the first Sunday of every month after the service, and we will start soon, but we want you to get your food first and sit down and have your lunch. And we knew this service was going to be a little longer, so we apologize, but this is really part of our gathering today. And we will be going right into the meeting.
I was just
Sure. There is a CPR class next Sunday after the service starting at noon. It's close to a couple hours, and it'll be the hands-on. Also, they'll teach how to do an AED if you're at a building that has one of the automatic defibrillators. It's free. They would love donations because it's Medic 2, and they're the community service branch of the program. So anyway, that's all. If you want to let me know, pardon? Yeah.
I have a sign-up sheet. If you have not already signed up and you're planning to come, I'll just
Okay.
pass this around. I'll also pass them.
Oh, sorry.
So I just wanted to say that our ordinary Mevlevi meeting on Mondays is not happening, I think, for the month of January, but we'll be starting up again in February. Also, as a quick footnote, somebody asked who chose the colors. Karen did. There was a committee of people, but she was the one who had a vision, and we just kind of went, yeah, sure, we'll do it your way. I was going to paint it peach, but but I like this, as it turns out. What was the other thing? Jamal mentioned the cross that used to hang up there, which is a large, plain wooden cross painted lavender, the color of Rich's shirt, and it's still in the attic.
Okay, before we sign off, we'd like to pass our collection plate and thank anybody who has the ability to contribute today. We appreciate that. If you want to hear how we're doing financially, come to the meeting, and I'll give you the treasurer's report after the service. And we do appreciate all those folks online who are able to give through the the donate button on our website. We deeply appreciate the people who we call our fiscal stewards, who give every month, and we know that many of you do give of your time and your treasure, and as George was saying, we appreciate that. I would like to then say goodbye to the friends at home and in their spaces, private spaces. We're so glad to have you here with us this morning, and it will take a few minutes if anyone has any prayer requests or any personal comments, and then we'll do a closing